So I'm sure you guys all remember the pivotal moment in which Majority Whip Jim Clyburn endorsed Joe Biden ahead of the South Carolina primary. Joe Biden would then go on to dominate with the African American vote, which it was previously supposed to be split with Tom Steyer, but it appeared that Jim Clyburn's endorsement flipped that all over to Biden. The pivotal moment that completely changed the race, the Democratic primary. And we saw Bill Clinton. Remember, Bill Clinton was applauding him for basically, ending a civil war between the Democrats, single handedly bringing it to a halt. So a lot of people have definitely been essentially crediting Jim Clyburn with the Joe Biden win and saving his candidacy and his nomination. So here's a really interesting thing. It says, on a call with reporters just now, Whip Jim Clyburn says ex-President Bush told him he's, quote, the savior because of his role in helping Biden win the Democratic nomination. Clyburn says Bush went on to call Biden the only one who could have defeated the incumbent president. It also appears that the Bush spokesman says, let's not make this into more than it is. He was saying Clyburn helped save Biden's nomination, nothing biblical here. So I think it is more than that. I think they're trying to downplay it, I guess, because it seems that, I don't know if it's George Bush's handlers or what, but they're really trying to protect and better his legacy in these years, so they're trying to downplay his comment. But obviously there's some big takes from this. The biggest one is probably that, it's a question of where would conservatives like George W. Bush have came down if Bernie Sanders was the Democratic nominee for president of the United States? Would they have sided with Bernie Sanders over Trump, or would they have chose fascism over what they perceived to be socialist Stalin or whatever? Who would they have supported? That really is a question, and I believe that, George Bush, I don't think he directly supported Biden or anything like that, or made any clear comments, but it was pretty obvious he didn't support Donald Trump, and it was kind of clear who he was really in with, and a lot of, obviously, former George W. Bush administration officials and stuff supported Biden and all that. A lot of that happens with his check marks and his, sort of approval. So it's really interesting because basically the thing that was saved from, was a potential Bernie Sanders administration, which scares the hell out of people like George W. Bush and conservatives because improved infrastructure, healthcare for all, and free college are very, very scary things. It's very interesting. He also appears to think that, Bernie Sanders would not have been able to defeat Donald Trump, which, sort of implies to me that Republicans wouldn't have really supported Bernie Sanders over Trump in the numbers that they did with Biden over Trump. So it's pretty interesting to see. But what it comes clearer and clearer is the biggest fear of everybody, the Democratic establishment, the Republican establishment, is a Bernie Sanders presidency, probably even more than a Donald Trump presidency. And we saw this being a really big debated and discussed thing, where conservatives going to come down, where plutocrats going to come down, the funders of these parties going to come down if it turns out to be Bernie versus Trump, because believe me, there would have been a lot of fight. A lot of rich people do not like Bernie Sanders because he's going to raise their taxes, impose further regulations, etc. And so they might have gone with what we're seeing now with Trump and have been seeing for a while now, which is essentially fascism. We would have seen that a lot of them would have picked Trump over Bernie, and where would George W. Bush have came down? I don't really know, but Jim Clyburn is definitely being hailed and really praised as the guy who saved Biden's nomination. It's also worth noting that Clyburn recently was complaining that Joe Biden was not picking enough African Americans to serve in administration posts and powerful positions. So looks like Clyburn is a little bit disappointed at that, but really interesting comment here from George Bush, man.